We head to the phones, talk a little bit about what's happening in the 2016 race. GOP political strategist Matt Mackowiak joining us today. Matt, good morning.
Hey, Chad, good morning.
Matt, the big news over the weekend, of course, Donald Trump, another day, another Trump news. Obviously, his comments have been talked about quite a bit in the media. Not a lot of happy Republicans out there with what he had to say. I thought it was interesting that not only did most of the Republican candidates denounce Donald Trump, but even the RNC came out against Donald Trump's comments. Do you think that this is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump and his rise in the Republican polls?
Yeah, I do, and I mean a little bit of that's hopeful. I think part of why Trump is rising in the polls is because he's getting so much attention and so much press coverage, and so sometimes when people are called by a pollster, they say the name they remember hearing last. Now, I think part of this is that Trump does have real appeal for some people, and a lot of that has to do with his message on immigration, which he's been pretty clear about. I think he's gone too far with some of the language he's used, but if he hadn't gone too far with some of the comments he's made, we would have been in a much better position to make a strong argument against sanctuary cities than we are now. But look, either way, I mean, I think this is a new low. I'm having trouble remembering, the comment he made on Saturday about John McCain not being a war hero, that he likes people that aren't captured, as if being captured was something you choose to do. That comment to me, I'm having trouble remembering a presidential candidate who's ever said anything as offensive as that in either party.
Right.
So unfortunately, we still have some people in the conservative movement that want to continue to defend Trump. I was listening to Laura Ingraham this morning on the radio. She's kind of defending Trump and angry that some of these presidential candidates are attacking him and et cetera, et cetera. It's just ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And every moment we spend talking about Trump, we're not talking about the serious candidates we have running for office. And so it's a real shame.
And I think that's something that when you look at Rick Perry and Ted Cruz, they have taken two different ways on both the immigration and on Trump's comments towards John McCain. They took different approaches. And Ted Cruz says he refuses to refuses to get in a mudslinging deal with another Republican candidate. I would argue that Donald Trump's not really a Republican, so go ahead and have at him.
Right.
Rick Perry has spent a lot of time going after Donald Trump, but is one way the right way? Are one of these guys messing up? Because it's two totally different styles right now.
It is, and it's striking. And I think at some level, I think it would benefit the entire party if every Republican came out very strongly and criticized Trump. Now, pretty much everyone did that on Saturday. I think the two exceptions were Ben Carson and Ted Cruz. And look, I'm a big Ted Cruz fan. Supported him in the Senate race. Contributed to him in the past. I think he's a very strong conservative and a great future leader. But to me, I think he's being a little bit too cute on this. If you look at his most recent book, he criticizes Republican leadership all the time in that book.
Right.
And he's done that, really throughout his years in the Senate. And I think in some cases he's been right to criticize Republican leadership, but to act like he can't do it now, that now he wants to sort of uphold Reagan's 11th commandment, after sort of selectively enforcing that on himself in the past, to me, I think is kind of ridiculous. This is ultimately about two things. For Cruz, it's about wanting to win over the Trump vote when Trump implodes or falls apart, whenever that happens. And for Perry, it's about punching up. It's about reminding people that he is a veteran. It's about trying to sort of get some of that media attention that Trump is getting. Now, look, I think this is a sincere view from Perry. I mean, it's an outrageous statement that Trump made, and to me, I think Perry's shown real courage going after Trump, because if we know anything about Donald Trump, it's that he doesn't make decisions based on the merits. He makes decisions on what someone thinks of him or says about him. It's an entirely emotional way of evaluating people and situations, and it's exactly why he shouldn't be president of the United States. I mean, his level of insecurity is stunning. So it is a different approach. Perry's been very aggressive. I mean, he's basically said he's disqualified himself to be commander-in-chief. He had to drop out of the race immediately. That's the strongest strongest statement anyone has made about Trump. And I think it also reminds people that Perry is a veteran, and I think that's something that helps him as he runs for president.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak this morning. Matt, what's the difference between Republican on Republican violence, which Ted Cruz has brought up in numerous interviews that he won't engage in, and calling out one of the other candidates when you think they're wrong. You look at, there's a story from, I think it's Weekly Standard today, between Scott Walker and Jeb Bush over this Iranian deal, and Walker disagrees with Jeb Bush over when to get rid of this Iranian deal. They're pointing out the differences. They're having a back and forth. Would some call that Republican on Republican violence? Where's the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's an impossible standard. I mean, look, Cruz is not going to be able to go through this entire campaign never saying anything negative about another challenger.
Yeah.
I will say he's been tremendously disciplined in not responding with personal attacks when he's attacked personally, which he has been repeatedly by Republicans, by Democrats, by media figures. When he's in the Senate, he's demonstrated tremendous personal discipline. And so maybe he thinks he's going to, be able to continue doing that. And I think that's a good standard to not go after people personally. But clearly, if Walker's position is he's going to get rid of the Iran deal on the first day, Jeb's position is he's going to get rid of it as soon as he has a cabinet.
Right.
Now, as Marco Rubio said on CNN over the weekend, there's a national security exception, which if you get rid of that, the president can get rid of it on the first day. So a little bit of this is technical. But yes, you're going to have disagreements between the candidates. That's going to be even more pronounced on the televised debates where these candidates want to stand apart from the others and stick out and get attention. So, this is a lot of this is sort of theory and theoretical. I mean, these candidates are going to start using real bullets against each other pretty damn soon. We're 2.5, 3 weeks away from the first debate. And, the difference between qualifying for the debate at 2.5% and not making the debate at 1%. Right now, I don't think Perry makes the debate. He's right on the edge. Carly Fiorina probably doesn't make the debate. Those two candidates should definitely be in the first debate. Yeah, where the line is, I don't know. I think it's in the eye of the beholder, and each candidate's going to have to make that decision on their own.
I want to ask you about the Democrats. Bernie Sanders is attracting the largest crowds out of any candidate on the Republican and Democratic side. 11,000 in Phoenix, 8,000 over the weekend in Dallas. I don't think Bernie Sanders wins the Democratic nomination, but if your team Hillary, do you see any warning signs? Her popularity is diminishing. The number of Democrats overall supporting her diminishing a little bit. It's sort of that lack of support that's out there. She's not energizing the Democrats while Bernie Sanders is. Should her team be worried about that?
I think they should. And not because Bernie's going to beat her, but I think because Bernie is showing that Hillary has weaknesses. And if anything, that's a real threat that someone who can beat Hillary gets in the race, whether that's, Al Gore or Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden, or even John Kerry. Now, look, I don't think any of those candidates are particularly strong, but they could all get in and give Hillary a real run for her money. Look, I think the real problem for Hillary is there's very little intensity for her. The intensity is for Bernie, and it's not because of his background. I mean, I served in the Senate for 4 years. The guy was a wallflower. He had no impact on any major issue while I worked there. But he does have a message. I mean, what is Hillary's message? I have no idea what her message is. She's against Uber. She's pro-woman. I don't know what her message is. And she's trying to basically, do the bare minimum to sort of, scratch the itch of the far left base. But she's doesn't have much of a bold message, and she's doing the bare minimum as it relates to campaigning and answering tough questions. And so you look at Bernie Sanders, he says exactly what he thinks. He doesn't hide it. And these crowds are incredible. The crowds he's getting in Dallas and Houston. Now look, maybe liberals have nothing they can do in Dallas and Houston, but show up at an event like this and they're thirsty for it. But yeah, I mean, there's clearly something going on for Bernie. I think there's a real chance he could win Iowa and or New Hampshire. Keep in mind, New Hampshire's next door state to Vermont, and Iowa has a history of electing, sort of change candidates. So, it's incredible. Again, I don't think Bernie's going to be the nominee, but I think every day he gets stronger is the day she gets weaker, and it increases the likelihood that another strong candidate gets in. Absolutely.
Matt, what can people find on mustreadtexas.com today?
Yeah, putting up all the news we can find on Perry and Cruz. Obviously, still covering the fallout from the legislative session, and we'll have some stories up there about Jade Helm, which is now taking place in Texas as well. You can find all the news, all the opinion, all the blog stories at mustreadtexas.com.
All right, folks. As always, follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak. Matt, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a
good one. That's Matt Mackowiak. We'll take the break. We'll be right back here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO.